When I was a freshman in college, I took a weekend weaving class. It was just the basics on a rigid heddle loom. We didn't even get to put on our own warp. The instructor did that for us. The only thing that we had to do for that class was doing the weft. This class was part of my mother's birthday gift that year, and while I know she was really excited for it, at the time, I wasn't super into it. I didn't know a lot about weaving. I knew that my mom was really into it and that it was complicated, but beyond that, I really had no clue. And what I really didn't know going into it was that this was the beginning of a journey that I would be on for pretty much the rest of my life. So fast forward ahead to 2020, I had found, like a lot of people, I suddenly had a lot of time on my hands during lockdown. While I was busy in grad school, there was a lot of time that I would normally spend commuting that was now open to me. I also found that I had a lot of thoughts and feelings that I really needed an outlet for. I needed something grounding that would help me get through it all. So I decided to go ahead and purchase myself a rigid heddle loom and teach myself the basics and move from there. While the class I had taken did teach the weaving portion, moving the heddle into the up shed and down shed and how to use your shuttle, we had no instruction on warping, and I didn't have a chance to take a class in between that first one and 2020. So I started on this path of teaching myself and struggling and loving the struggle, finding how much I really loved weaving. What surprised me the most about this, though, was learning about textiles. I just thought I was going to find this new craft, enjoy it, and go from there. But what I found was so much about weaving is technical, and it's technical knowledge that I never even thought about before. It made me appreciate my materials I had never even considered. Materials like yarn. Up until this point, I don't think I ever really thought about where yarn came from. I knew I could buy it at the store. I knew wool was made from sheep and cotton was made from cotton plants, that you could make yarn out of alpacas and llamas and sometimes rabbits, but I knew nothing about the process of going from fiber to yarn or thread. I still remember the first time I saw someone spinning yarn on Instagram. It was an art yarn, and it completely blew my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about it, about how this person was able to take something so formless and soft, this wool, and give it shape, spin it down into something that is usable and flexible in a lot of ways. We use yarn and thread that's spun from wool or cotton or other fiber types for so many different things. From the most delicate fabrics that are used as maybe ornate shawls to something more utilitarian as a ship's sail. I could not get enough at this point. I had to learn how to do this thing. I fought myself for a while, like, is this just another hobby that you're obsessed with? Do you really need to go down this rabbit hole? Are we going to get tired of it soon? But eventually, I had to find a way to try it for myself. So I started with a hand spindle, which didn't go great. I'm a lot better now, but it's still a very difficult skill for me. And after I got a taste on that hand spindle of making those first stretches of really thick and thin, lumpy yarn that to this day I have stashed away in a special place, I decided to finally upgrade to a spinning wheel and try things out that way. And I have been spinning regularly ever since I got that first wheel. But now I think it's time that I grow my fleet by at least one more. Maybe we'll get more wheels in the future, but for now, this is my next addition. This is the Schacht flat iron, and I am so excited to be able to get her put together and try her out. When deciding what I wanted in my next spinning wheel, a big part of it was what was going to push me out of my comfort zone and make me learn the most. I'm really comfortable with my Ashford Kiwi. It just does Scotch tension, and I've had her for 4 years now. I'm spinning almost every day, so very, very, very comfortable. But I think it's time that I start learning to be a little bit more technical. The Schacht Flatiron is able to do Scotch, Irish, and dual band tensions, so I thought it was a great opportunity to start trying out different ways of spinning and learning if maybe there's a different way that I like better than what I'm used to. Speed ratios were also something that I was looking into when deciding what wheel to add to my fleet. Ultimately, I want to be able to spin higher volumes, faster, and more comfortably, and this wheel seemed like it might be a good call for that. I plan on getting into the specifications a little bit more later, but for now, I think it's time that we start building. Why do you sit like this? How is this comfortable? Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I guess we're done with that, huh? So this wheel arrives completely unassembled. I've gone ahead and laid out all the pieces you saw me taking out of the box earlier. It looks like this will take me quite a bit of time actually, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And here's the reveal. As I'm sure you can tell, it's a few days later now. This assembly took me a bit. There are quite a few components, as you can see just looking at the first 2 pages of the manual, both the physical components of the wheel and the hardware. But this list here of all the different hardware came in really handy along with the pictures. And they even went ahead and numbered all the bags of hardware for you. This will end up coming in very handy as you go through the steps because you'll know exactly what bag to go to. And I don't know if you've had this problem with maybe other things you've put together before, but sometimes the numbers aren't in order. In this case, the numbers of the bags are definitely in order, which I greatly appreciated. I also really loved that the manual pictures are in color. It makes it a lot easier to understand what is what, the different orientations, and so forth. All that being said, even with such a great manual, I did have a hard time putting this together. It was just very intimidating having so many pieces. And sometimes reading instructions and then trying to apply those instructions can be difficult. All that being said, I did figure out after the fact that there is a YouTube video on the Schacht YouTube that is way more helpful than using written instructions alone. I have a feeling that if I had gone ahead and watched that video before starting, I would have had a much easier time. So while for me personally, the whole assembly of this wheel was on the time-intensive and difficult side, I do think that part of it was user error. If I had noticed that the manual itself lists a link of the YouTube video and then gone ahead and watched that first, I definitely think I would have had an easier time. One of the initial things that I can say now before I start experimenting with this wheel is that I am very impressed with the quality here. I did not find any imperfections in any of the pieces supplied to me. The hardware that came was as it was described in the manual, and while yes, I did cry a few times out of frustration from trying to understand what the instructions were saying, once I did understand what they were saying, everything worked as it was supposed to. Now that this wheel is finally put together and I've had some time to recover from the assembly process, I think it's time that I start having some fun with it and make some yarn. Thank you again for joining me today on this chatty unboxing and really brief review on just the assembly portion of the Schacht Flatiron spinning wheel. Next time you tune in, hopefully I'll have a bit of a longer review on my overall thoughts of actually using it, and a breakdown of more of the specifications and features of it. Ozzy and I will see you all next time. Bye everyone!